But you never know that you could. And when you feel that way, ain't it good, good, dancing in the red and gold. Dancing in the red and gold.
Hello, it is Tuesday, it is 8 p.m, so it must be welcome to another edition of 49er Faithful UK Live. I'm Nick Ludlam.
And I'm Paul Hope.
Indeed, now the draft is behind us. We can finally put it to bed. But as Paul likes to say, fear not, because there is still plenty of news in Ninerland. There's plenty of us to chat about. Camp is just around the corner. Excitement starts now. Super Bowl run begins now. This is when the team starts to get everything in play. We can whittle it down to 53 later on, but this is where it begins. This is where it begins for all 32 teams, guys. So, Paul, what have you got for us this week?
Just excited, mate. You've hit the nail on the head with the intro. The draft has come and gone. We're another week closer to meaningful football. The season, you can nearly taste it. I saw Scott Hansen put out that awesome tweet earlier on the NFL UK Twitter account, and I cannot wait to hear that man say 7 hours of commercial-free football. And I'm getting the goosebumps talking about it, Nick. So the 90-man roster set, everybody. So the Niners have made a couple of signings. Brandon Allen, Marlon Davidson, and I'm going to butcher his name, so I'm sure he's watching. Troy Fumagalli to 1-year contract. So we are at that 90-man roster, which for those good people who watch me and you every Tuesday will know, we've been counting up to them. We've been saying, Nick, that the roster hasn't been set. Now, I don't believe our transfer or our signing business is over yet. It just means we're at the 90-man roster limit. We're going to go into rookie training camp. We've got OTAs to come, and I'm very, very excited. But before you respond in true 49er Faithful UK fashion, we've got some regulars in the house. So, Wayne, first comment of the night. Let's go Niners. Mr. Waters is saying what all of us are thinking. Evening all. Can't wait for the schedule to be released so that El Presidente and his pals, Kyle and John, can arrange the group trip to Levi's. Now, once that schedule release drops, Lee Gowland will be busier than me, and that's going to be some feat, because I imagine that man's phone is going to be lit up like a Christmas tree. Good to see Simon among us. Hope you're doing well, mate. Simon. Bang Bang Niner Gang. Colin is in the house, and as I've said, I've seen Colin sneaking in on a couple of the shows, and I always get that sense of pride when you see the comments being shown by Chapman and Breezy. It's like the UK faithful are representing.
With that,
joined by our good friend, Mr. Simpson, who, if you didn't check out his show with my good man Nick last night, you need to go and watch it. Very flag football heavy, which no surprise given Nick is the face of the flag football community. But I was in the comments. I watched the show live, and Alec is a big part of what Dan's doing at Let's Talk Sports. Now, Simon, it's like you read our mind. So Simon saw a good piece from our good friend Larry earlier, where he talked about the cap hits for next year. Simon, we're not going to worry about next year, buddy. As my good friend Nick said at the start of his show.
Next year.
Next year. So how are you feeling, Nick? Oh, and actually, before you answer that, where is your suit? I seen you tag me in that about 10 minutes before we went live. Joe Montana already dusted off for tonight, you know, a cheeky little appearance. And then I was like, sparkly suits. Leave it with us, Wayne. Me and Nick might have to get creative for next week.
You said you had one. I mean, I was going to put my lovely, my black sequin dress on for you, but you didn't put the suit on, so I'm not putting the dress on.
I went with your cool. What can I say? I knew you'd be rocking the 87. I've gone with the 16. So it's as if we coordinated, which, to be fair, if you watch this on a regular basis, you know there's no coordination.
No.
But back to the task at hand. So we talk about the 90-man roster, mate. It's set. We're getting ready for training camp. How are you feeling ahead of the cut down day? Are you feeling confident we're going to get some of your favourites in the 53? Or do you think we're in for some shocks?
We're always in for shocks every year. Kyle will always throw something in there which no one really expected. There's always the chance of a last minute signing. Heaven forbid, there's always the chance that someone doesn't stay 100% healthy. I think we'll leave it as that rather than use the I word. You never know. So much can happen in an NFL offseason, and frankly, it usually does happen. It's considering there's no games. There's an awful lot that does go on the quiet. We have a couple of weeks in between a couple of camps where things do die down a bit, and you hope it stays quiet. The last thing you want is your players making any headlines during that time, because it's not going to be for good reasons. But I'm happy with the 90. There's some sneaky players in there. There's some players I want to see get through. I think I've said Jack Leto's name more than once or twice of late. Juice isn't getting any younger. He's still absolutely phenomenal. One of the best fullbacks ever to play the game, but someone's got to take over eventually. Why can't it be Jack? We're just going to have to wait and see. That's what it is this time of year. We can just see what's going on.
I asked the question because, as you well know, I don't follow English football. I'm plugged into all things Niners and the NFL. Spend a lot of my free time on the Niners Nation or the Niner Noise website. I can't remember which one. I was looking for the link while you were talking, but I saw a rather interesting column. So someone's gone on and talked about, as it stands today, their prediction for the 53-man roster. Now, the disclaimer, everybody, is it's May. And the guy who wrote the article says, basically, it's just what he feels at the moment before any meaningful football's taken place. And it did get me thinking, because on the linebacker car, he's getting rid of your man, Ball. And I thought, that wouldn't go down well. Jason Aponte, who I'm a big fan of, he interviewed our new pick 87, Jair Brown. Nice. He did a 5-minute interview, which is on Jason's YouTube. So I believe it was at some kind of like high school football award ceremony, and Brown stayed, basically made sure every child that was there got an autograph, got a photograph. He speaks measures of the kind of personality we want in the locker room, and he gave Jason his time. For those people who may not know, Jason's based in New York, so I believe it was in that region. But check it out on Jason's YouTube. I watched it earlier, Nick, and I was like, we always talk about the 49ers do the homework on these players. And it was a 5-minute video, but again, you could be forgiven for thinking he's the star signing in the draft of the San Francisco 49ers, because he got a bit big time. And he's just shown he's quite humble. He talked about his background. He talked about his top 30 visit to the 49ers, and he was like, I wanted to join this team so badly. He said, you don't normally want to fall to the third round, but he was like, I was absolutely buzzing when I fell to the third round, and I ended up at the 49ers. So we're at this time of year now where we kind of all invest in the team. We have our favourites, as Alex Simpson's jumped in there, hands off the juice. Wayne, he'll double the money if you wear a dress for the live show. Now, to be fair, Wayne, I nearly rocked my my Owens jersey, can't get my words out, my Reebok 81 jersey, which is the size of a dress. So maybe I could win 2 bets in one there. But to be fair, Nick, I'm going to leave that one up to you, buddy.
No, I mean, you're calling me the face. I mean, it's definitely a face for radio. The last thing people are really going to see is me in my Sunday best. So I think that the dress can be for church.
So everybody that's obviously tuning in is like me and you, dying for Niners news. Peter King has ranked all 32 teams in the NFL in his latest Football Morning in America column. And as you can guess, the San Francisco 49ers featured quite highly. Where do you think we featured in Mr. King's 32 teams in the NFL?
I haven't actually seen this. I'm going to say we were top 6.
That is a very good guess. Yes, top 6.
Considering the way the AFC is, I reckon they probably dominate the top 3. I reckon we're probably sitting in 5th.
You nearly said it. So he's ranked as 4th. So he's looked at the last year. He's looked at the way we ended the year. He does talk about the quarterback situation, which as 49ers fans, you can't not talk about the quarterback situation.
Every year.
You seen that tweet, Nick, that I sent you that Chapman posted just before we went live, where he's done the Matrix style question. Would you take the blue pill for no quarterback drama for the next 12 years? Or would you take the red pill for a healthy top 5 offense? And you look at it and you think, as 49ers fans, we're kind of all getting a bit fatigued with the quarterback talk. I had some banter in the group chat that I'm in today with non-49ers fans have picked up on Miyoko's comments about Darnold being the best passer that the 49ers have had or ever had, or just using that stick to beat me with the Trey Lance. And I just keep saying, lads, it's May. We haven't had any training camp yet. We haven't had any OTAs, but I know Lee and Larry Kruger talked in depth last night about the quarterback room. But to be honest, everyone, I'm not going to go down that path at the moment, unless you really want to, Nick. If you really want to debate Sam, Brock, Trey.
No, I mean, I really wish I was in Larry's shoes and being able to go and be there, just to see what this split really is. How much of a split is it really? 50-50 or is it more likely going to be that Trey is getting the majority of the important snaps and Sam's just coming in for the last little bit here and there, when Lance gets a bit tired, because bless it, he is coming back off a nasty injury. They're not going to be wanting him full go just yet. It's a long way for the season to start. You don't want to knacker him now. That's the only thing I want to know. Really, I want to know what that split is, and I'm sure Larry will have that for us in good time. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, we were saying off air, Nick, we're quite privileged at the 49er Faithful UK with the relationships that we've made. Obviously, we won't have eyes on the ground at training camp, but we will have some very good friends there. Larry Kruger, I believe him and El Presidente have clicked to the extent it could be a regular show. So we could have first-hand So when we say everyone on a Tuesday live, as per our sources, we could be meaning Larry Kruger and Lee Gowland. Ted Talks Ball, who is a big supporter of the show. He's had many of us on. He's going to try and get out there because he's based stateside. And obviously the likes of Brad Graham, Jason Aponte, Steph Sanchez, all the ones that I'm plugged into. And if you're not plugged into them, you need to. They'll be at training camp. So as much as we can't be there, they're our trusted sources that will be able to say, this is what's happening at training camp and this is what they've seen. Now, obviously, there's certain things that happen behind closed doors and they're not going to be there for all of it. But trust me, when me and Nick know, you guys will know. And as Alec has said there, it wouldn't be the off-season without a QB drama. But it could be worse. It could be. The Seattle Seahawks who've convinced themselves that they're a better team than us. Just saying. Yeah,
we could be the Rams. We're not. We're a quality team. We're not a one and done. I think that's even polite calling them one and done. I mean, they're one and just nothing, literally nothing.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's our division, and Lee said it last night with Larry, and I know you've said it on the various shows over the last few weeks you've been on. We're winning the NFC West. You can bookmark it now.
Yeah, division's ours. No one's taking the NFC West from us. We would have to suffer some pretty horrific luck for us not to win that division. We're going to the playoffs. That's a foregone conclusion in my mind at this point. With the way that the NFC is hemorrhaging talent to the AFC, that route to the NFC Championship game looks pretty good. My one issue with the NFC is it too weak? Can you make it through a season in the NFC, the playoffs against relatively subpar teams? They're not subpar, but that's the only word I can think of right now. Because you're not really battle tested. The last few seasons when we've made it to the playoffs, we've been able to go up against a decent Lambs roster. We've been able to go up against a decent Sea Chicken roster. We've been able to go up against a decent Cardinal roster. That's 6 of our games in the season. We've had the Green Bays. All right, we've always beaten Green Bay in the playoffs. Got to get that in there. But they've been good teams, and it's been a good way to test ourselves for when you get to the big ones. Okay, it hasn't come off, but you're far less likely to win those massive games if you've never been a part of those massive games throughout the season. That's probably my only worry at this point. But that's something that we can't control. And you never know. Teams might come through. Detroit Lions look fairly tidy towards the end of last season. Panthers look tidy towards the end of last season. We're just going to have to see how these teams pick up, and hopefully they can provide us with some decent games.
Yeah, so we're joined by some 49ers royalty, East Coast Red and Gold podcast. Thank you for tuning in. Now, Alec, I slightly disagree with you. I don't think we need home field advantage because the Niners have shown they can be a good road team.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think what I would agree with is we would like home field advantage. Like you said, Nick, it would be good to get that number 1 seed. It would be nice to get everything that comes with that. Now, that leads us nicely, everyone, onto the schedule release. Now, to be honest, Matt Miyoko, I know you're a fan of the show, buddy. You took the wind out of our sails. So, for you guys stateside, the NFL UK tweeted out this morning that the UK fans will find out tomorrow who the London teams will be. It's well documented that the Jags play the 49ers, with the 49ers being the road team. The Jags had not protected that game. So we'd automatically put 2 and 2 together and come up with 4. We were like, the 49ers are coming to London. Now, to be honest, I did see some comments on social media today where people were like, I'm so disappointed with Miyoko's tweet. Certain people had hyped up the Niners coming to London, and I was like, I'm definitely one of them.
We did.
I'm guilty. Yeah, we did. We honestly thought the Niners were coming to London. We were getting ready to have the mother of all meetups. Now, I always live in hope, buddy. We always don't give up until that last moment. So Miyoko hasn't come out and said it's definitely not happening, but reading between the lines and given the schedule, and Lee was very diplomatic with Larry yesterday when Larry was like, so do you think it's not happening? And Lee was like, I think it is happening. I mean, we'd love to see it, wouldn't we, Nick? We've talked about it on this show. It's just, I saw the tweet, I shared it. I know Najee was a little bit like, no news is kind of good news. And I was like, but Miyoko is connected to the team. He's obviously got his ears to the ground. Now, hopefully, the disappointment will be the Niners aren't coming this year as the road team. But what it does mean is they're coming next year as the home team.
I mean, imagine that would be pretty cool. Like, just to properly deck London out in red and gold. And we'll show up. Home team or away team will show up. There'll be a party regardless. But it did. After being that whole, it's 50-50, it's 50-50. And I in my head, I'm thinking this is 80% happening. I daren't not go full on hope. It is happening, but it does start to feel like it's not going to be this year. Hopefully next year. But never say never. Unlikely things happen all the time. And at the end of the day, this isn't just down to the Niners and the Jags. The NFL might very well decide, no, you're going.
Yeah, I mean, Simon, it would have given me and Nick no greater pleasure next week to be starting this show with the London Calling music, because we're not monetized. We can take that report. London, baby, all the friends' gifts. And I'm not going to apologise. I did get excited. Now, we've said before, for those people like off Hamster Wheel, joining us from across the bay, noon over there, we do include that timing on our tweets. We are aware of our fans across the pond. Niner Sickness Podcast in the house as well.
Oh, we do.
Now, the reason we all got excited was because of the UK marketing rights. Obviously, last year, the organisation worked very closely with ourselves, and we had 3 epic watch parties, and that got the fever pitch going. And we thought, where next? Niners at Wembley, Jags. And it would have been quite ironic being the road team, but we'd have decked out Wembley in red and gold. I suppose it gives us all a bit more time if we're not the London team to get organised, because that sinking feeling when Lee posted in the group that, there's no chance of organised tickets. It's kind of a free-for-all. I'm not going to lie, I was a little bit worried. Obviously, me and you were talking DMs. We were like, you go for 2 tickets, I'll go for 2 tickets. And I'm sure those conversations were having. To be honest, we always joke, but Tracy even said to me, that mean you're going to have to buy a couple of tickets, isn't it? And then you'll sort everyone else out. And I was like, yes, Tracy, that's exactly what it means.
Is it? We're both there. Like, as soon as one of us is in the queue, the other one can stop. But until then, you keep hitting refresh.
Yeah.
We had the chat.
Now, the London Jags 49ers, it may not be this year, but what we do feel, the confidence as the 49er Faithful UK, is that could be a potential 6 p.m. UK kickoff game if it's in Jacksonville. So that straight away adds it to maybe not a London meetup, everybody, as in London meetup at Wembley, but I have a feeling that could be one that's the official watch party. Now, the marketing company, Wassermans, have alluded to possibly 2 this year, one in the south, which would be London. I apologise for anyone if I'm getting that wrong geographically, but there will be one in the north as well. We haven't decided yet. We're going to work with Nick Clark. What used to happen, Nick, is before the 49ers got involved, we just used to put a poll in the group. We're thinking of having a watch party. Where should we have it? And we've had them in Bristol, Edinburgh, Manchester, Newcastle. We moved around. Last year, when the Niners kind of got involved, that kind of took a little bit of control away from us. Obviously, we had our input, but we went with where they felt. So, fingers crossed, there could be some news to share once the schedule's out. Now, on the note of the schedule, if the London game's not happening, will you be joining El Presidente in the gold mine?
I won't.
No, me neither.
No, having gone out last year, funds I doubt will allow, unless somehow like that NFC, like the game against the Cowboys in the playoffs, when I was sat drunkenly on my sofa and I found unbelievably cheap flights, and then I'm just going to maybe potentially end up, I don't know, I'll book an Airbnb in Sunnyvale just outside of Santa Clara or something, and it was like $20 a night, and I don't care where I stay. Hell, I'll sleep in someone's tent in the back garden. I don't care if I get to see the Niners, but it certainly won't be a big trip, but I think it might be unlikely. But then I might save it for next year because I'm going to be 40 next year. So I might have to have a little jaunt over next year for another week and a bit. 2 home games, more Gold Bar whiskey. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan.
It does. So, I mean, obviously, once we dust off the disappointment that the Niners are not coming, the schedule will be released. So everybody on this side of the pond will be dusting down that annual leave card. You'll be looking at the primetime games. Now, I did see something about how many primetime games will the Niners have, and I'm going to say the maximum, because it means we're playing well. If you're doing well, you're on prime time. And I think that's another reason why the Niners-Jags game might not be a London game, because of the early kickoff. And for TV over in America, I think they want it at a reasonable time, which, fair enough on one respect. I haven't really looked into the schedule too much, but a little teaser for everybody ahead of next week. We will be doing a rather ridiculously early game-by-game prediction to see what we see on the season. Because let's face it, Nick, we might as well get out there, and we will be semi-sensible. I'm not just going to go 17-0 Super Bowl, baby, but
yes, you will. No. Paul, I'm going to stop you right there. All right, I have never ever seen a single show you've done in the several years where you haven't just gone 17-0.
Actually, I called the 14-3 record last year.
Were you unwell that day?
Early. I called it early. Now, when we went on that run streak at the end of the season, it dragged me out of it. But I did call the 13-4 is how we ended. That's how I called it.
I forgot,
last year.
Okay.
It's El Presidente that goes on the 17-0 Super Bowl winning show. So Simon's jumping on there that he's going to San Francisco in September 2024. Mr. Simpson has promised me he's going to make his first UK watch party this year. Might not be Wembley, Alec, but it might be somewhere close to that region. Schedule-wise, I was just about to ask you, but Alex beat me to the punch. Who do you want week 1, Nick?
Do you know what? I don't care. I honestly don't care who it is. At the end of the day, we know the teams we're going to have to play. We know all of our 17 opponents. I'll take them in whatever order they give us them. I have all the confidence that there's, you can potentially go 17-0, but realistically very unlikely. I am wary, especially if it's a team where there's not particularly great weather. I am wary of another start like Chicago last year.
Yeah. So would you like to see us at home
weather.
then? Would you like to see us at Levi's as a season opener?
It would be nice. You're going to have good weather. Well, it's going to be blooming hot. I could probably use far stronger words. It's still going to be quite warm that time of year there. We're just going to have to wait and see. I would like to avoid the kind of weather that we saw against the Bears, because we all know it's a massive equalizer within the NFL. It doesn't matter how good you are. It doesn't matter how bad your opponent is. It suddenly becomes an awful lot closer. So I think that's the only thing I'd like to avoid really is that.
Yeah, to be fair, Alec, once the schedule, I think the London teams are announced tomorrow, and I think the schedule's released the day after, or by Friday at the latest. And like we said, we will be going for a rather ridiculously early season preview, kind of guessing what we think the season record will be. The disclaimer, Alec, is we will be putting the date on there, so you won't be able to clip this and come back when we get it either hysterically wrong, or if we get it right, at least me and Nick can get in there first. James has joined in there saying that it would be the mother of all meetups if the Niners are the home team in 2024 in London.
Can you imagine it? Especially, let's be honest, as UK sports fans, no matter what region you're from within the UK, whether you English, Irish, Scottish, Welsh, everyone knows Wembley Way. I mean, can you imagine thousands of UK faithful walking up Wembley Way in the red and gold? It would be amazing.
My only worry if with a home team next year, it's the Tottenham Stadium. And I've heard mixed reviews of the surrounding area. I mean, obviously, it'd be awesome. The Niners in London, you take it whichever stadium they'll play at. But I'm like you. I do kind of hope it's Wembley. Given that I only discovered the sport in 2012, I didn't go in 2013. I've not been to an international game yet. Family finances, based in the northeast of England. I've always the schedule gets released, the London games get announced. I'm like, nah, I'll save my money. And then it gets like 2 weeks before, and then you see all the posts on NFL UK, and you see tickets going spare, and then you think, oh, I've only had booked a train. I've only had booked a hotel ticket. But as Tracy points out, it's going to make it even more worth it when the Niners do come across, and that'll be my first NFL live game. I, like you, won't get out to the States this year. Colin has jumped in there that we're notorious slow starters, so any AFC team will do. And Alec has put his bold prediction is Eagles on Christmas Eve.
Ooh.
I just hope it's a semi-sensible time, Alec, because us playing Washington at 9 o'clock last Christmas Eve did not go down well in the Hope household. I can tell you that for nothing. And you may be laughing for multiple of reasons there, but I know Mr. Fact Checker likes to keep that pen and pencil ready. However, just remember, Alec, what happened last year, buddy, when you dared question myself. And this year you've got Nick Lance to keep you right.
Right, we're stopping that right now. All right, there is no Nick Lance. That's not going anywhere. We're leaving that be.
On that note, our good friend John V.
Mr. John V.
joined in. Now, congratulations, buddy. Seeing you've tied the knot. The pictures of you and your good lady looked absolutely awesome. So on behalf of everybody at the 49er Faithful UK, my friend, congratulations. And we wish you a long and prosperous marriage. And we thank you so much for joining us on, I want to say Tuesday night, but where's John time-wise? You'll know better than me, Nick.
Cleveland, so he's a little bit further ahead, isn't he?
So is it 5 hours? So
5 to 6 hours behind, I think. You are, John. Is that right?
He'll keep us right.
He'll let us know.
He'll let us know. And another announcement I was going to save till the end, but it's Trey Lance's birthday today.
I know.
That's where I was leading with the Nick Lance, which I'll explain to people watching, think of why am I calling Nick that? But Alex Simpson has a hand in that. But yes, happy birthday to QB1 in some people's eyes, Trey Lance. I saw that George Kittle bought him a cake. Now, such things may seem insignificant, but to the untrained eye, does that mean that Trey is in the boys? Because there's been a lot of talk of Darnold at the Warriors game with the
True.
chaps. We're 49ers fans. We have to overreact to everything. Now, I'm saying all this tongue-in-cheek because, to be brutally honest, Nick, I pay no attention to all that side of things.
No.
However, it was nice to see Club 85 getting Trey a birthday cake.
He would. That's exactly what I'd expect from George. You know, he's that kind of guy. I doubt he dislikes anyone on that team. I mean, he's even lovingly accepted Brock Purdy, who came from, obviously is a Cyclone. He's a Hawkeye. The complete opposite ends of the Iowa sort of scale of football. They don't like each other, but he's accepted him. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention it because obviously I'm plugged in to 49ers Twitter. I kind of do wish for the kind of controversy to kind of ease. I am a 49ers fan. I kind of agree with Lee. I think Ted or Larry was talking to Lee recently about the content creator label, and Lee was like, we're just fans in the UK. We love our team. We talk about our team, and we're plugged in to all the great content creators over there. But yeah, I was quite shocked that Trey Lance is, 23 years of age. You kind of forget that, given all that's been said about him. Yeah.
He's so young, especially when you consider what one of the, I can't remember his name now, Hooker, Tennessee's quarterback, 25. He's already older than Trey Lance by several years, and he's only just coming out of college. You know, it's crazy how young Lance really is.
So, Nicholas, I'm going to get to...
Oh, is it already that time?
It is already that time.
Yes.
So, for those good people who joined us, it is time. Look at that face. Now, every week, you make a face, and then when I go back and watch the show, it either plays into my hands to clip set face, pride before the fall. However, given the smile on your face, I'm guessing you're going first tonight, buddy.
I'm ready for it. I feel like I have channeled my inner Paul Hope in this one. I feel like I have got to the essence of Paul. You know, the Tao of Paul, one might say, you know, from years gone by in Chinese law. Now, Paul, as we know, Paul has got his phone with him at all times, and he is ready to drop Niners news at the drop of a hat. See, it's even red. Why didn't I know? I didn't even doubt that. In fairness, mine's red too, for exactly the same reason. But we know, and rumor has it that Paul has actually been approached by Apple about testing a neural implant so he can access social media like that. So, with that in mind, Paul, would you rather be the guy on the inside, the man that everyone thinks is around, you know, the man that even Tom Pelissero dreams of being, you know, having John Lynch's ear, getting the actual truth, no games, and then you can drop that news on Twitter, but you have to drop it under a pseudonym. John will tell you what you're allowed to tweet and what you're not. So he's only going to allow you 2 or 3 a year, and that's it. That's maximum. That's it. It's under the direction of the front office. It's unpaid. It's nothing. It's just that. But you get to know. Or would you rather be the guy that does social media full time? He's getting paid for it. He's not mega rich, but you're living a comfy life. You can do the things you want to do, but you're always going to be guessing and reacting. You're never really going to know. Which is it, Paul? Which do you want?
You didn't tell me you'd been talking to Tracy ahead of this week's Would You Rather. And when you mentioned the phone, I thought, oh, here we go. Where's he going with this one? So, obviously, I'm the social media manager for 49erFaithfulUK. I do that for the love of the group, the community. It's free of charge. to be fair to Lee Gowland, when he handed over the keys to the Twitter account, he basically said, do with it what you want. I think maybe he's given me some friendly words once or twice, so I kind of have free run of that. So I could add another account to my phone. I've got the Steel River Stingrays. I've got the 49erFaithfulUK. I've got my personal Twitter account. So, to be honest, I would probably take the paid one at the moment, because obviously everything I do at the moment is for a hobby. It's not my day job. I do it part-time. Sometimes I don't have as much time to dedicate to this. I mean, it's well known. I kind of got myself out there before my injury. Then my injury allowed me the time to kind of really focus on getting the group out there, and it helped with Lee out in Vegas and Nadja out in Vegas. But this year it's been back at work full time, flag football, kids' birthdays. I haven't had as much time. I was even annoyed with myself because I missed the chance to tweet out Nick Bosa putting the crown on Saturday, because I was actually playing flag football. And then by the time I got home, I tweeted it out on Sunday, but it didn't have the same appeal as it would have done on Saturday. So, to be fair, Nick, I expected more evil. So I'm going to say the paid employment one. Now, before I ask you mine,
I thought I might get you on that one. I thought that being on the inside, having John's ear might be enough to entice.
Yeah, but then you said I could only tweet 2 or 3 times a year. Christ almighty. I don't know whether I could put the phone down that much. I think Tracy would go for that option. And as Simon's put there, I could use a GIF of Nick's laughing face. And as he's put there, I've chosen the paid option. Now, we're being joined by Bryant Culp, who's faithful from across the pond. Very knowledgeable about the game, has his own YouTube channel, so please do go check out what Bryant's doing. So we really appreciate you joining us tonight, buddy. And as he's put there, hit the like button. 100% true faithful here, and best wishes to us both.
Indeed.
Luke Jones just got in time to see. I put Would You Rather on. It's like the bat signal. Everybody comes. Now, to be fair, I prepared a couple for tonight, actually. Now,
I know.
You've been very vocal over recent weeks, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
That I've been a little bit mean to you, apparently.
Always
so
me. You bully
on
me.
that note, I wanted to ask you before, at the moment on the current roster, who is the one player who you want to add to that impressive memorabilia collection behind you? Who's on the current roster, so you could potentially meet them?
Oh, meet them?
Yeah, so meet
them.
It's
easy.
Get a piece of signed autograph. Who on the
George.
current roster? So it's Mr. Kittle.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. It'd be George.
Right. The reason I ask is we teased the good people earlier about the London meetup. It's not been announced yet, everybody. There's still a small chance, but we know the NFL and the 49ers watch this show. So as Nick has just told the watching world, George Kittle, Club 85, your would you rather, Nick, is you can meet George, you can get a signed piece of memorabilia, anything you want, but you're not allowed to take a photograph. You will not get the certificate of authenticity to prove that with George.
It's fine.
Or you can sacrifice that and guarantee the Niners come to London this year. What are you doing?
Niners are coming to London, baby. You didn't. No, I would sacrifice that to be able to have a phenomenal meetup with everyone. You know, like you said, relationships we've been able to start to put together. The group has grown so much over the last couple of years. I've got to meet so many people through social media. It would just be amazing to just to be there, walking up Wembley Way with everyone after the game, getting back to an inevitable meetup. We're all stood there in a beer garden somewhere, all raising our fire bombs up to the heavens, cheering on after a big Niners win. That would be awesome. I think that would have to come first.
As I knew that would be your answer.
You're not allowed to follow up.
We like a twist. It's not a follow up. We're having a bonus second, would you rather? Because this is linked to news of the Niners this week. So, Navarro Bowman is a firm favourite of both mine and yours.
Indeed.
This was my backup one in case you asked me a London question, so it's not going to waste. So Bowman is back in football this week, Nick. He's a defensive analyst for the University of Maryland. And it got me thinking, who would I like to see return to the Niners in a coaching capacity? Well, when I say who would I like to see, this section's called Would You Rather. So I'm going to put you on the spot. So I'm going to narrow it down to 2 choices for you because I'm nice like that. I can't let you just have all this choice. And it's a bonus, Would You Rather.
Okay.
So the choices to come back to the team is A, Patrick Willis, or B, Frank Gore.
Cool.
And you've got to ring both of them and tell them who's coming and who's
No.
not coming.
No, I'm not ringing them up to say you're not having it. Oh, jeez.
You think I was going to let you off nicely when I thought you were coming for me? I've had this prepared since about 2:00 this afternoon. I even asked Tracy whether it was nice enough. Now, she thought it was a nice choice that I'd narrowed it down to 2 favourite players and you were going to get to phone them.
Yeah, it's nice. It's lovely.
If it helps, Simon has put that he would go with Frank Gore.
I love Gore. I mean, it's one of the best running backs we ever had. I mean, the guy's 3rd on the all-time yards list. He is the epitome of a Niner, but then so is is Patrick Willis.
You answered the other one too quickly. If you dragged the other one out...
I shouldn't have said,
I'd have put that one away, but you answered it too quickly, and I was like, that's not what the people come for. The people have come to see which one of us... And yours was quite nice, to be fair. I was expecting a bit more of a harsher choice, which I have a feeling next week's I've raised that bar. So if you're watching, people, Nick's definitely going to have one for me next week.
But this is why I say you're so evil. I mean, and why you bully me. This is difficult.
It's a difficult choice. I went with Willis and Gore for obvious reasons, which we can get into because
they're phenomenal. The 49ers, they've always been there. They're two men that deserve to have 49ers Super Bowl rings. Not just 1 or 2, but multiple, 5, 6, 7 of them. They were phenomenal. They embodied everything about the team. They amazing at their craft. I'm going to go with Pat. I know I'm going to go with Pat predominantly because Pat's been pretty much coaching since he left the NFL. I think he's got his online coaching business, hasn't he? I'm going to take Pat.
Yeah.
But when it comes to making the phone calls, I'm going to be really unwell and I'm not making the phone calls.
I knew that one. I had to throw that caveat in. To be fair, it was just a bit... Like I said, I prepared a couple because when we first started doing this, we kind of weirdly got on the same wavelength because we do keep these secret from each other because we are trying to outdo each other. There's no lies about it.
Oh, and it's never even mentioned other than the odd, I've got you.
So before we went live tonight about 10 to, I texted Nick what John Chapman had tweeted out just in case you were going down that kind of chain of thought. And obviously, I kind of thought, being the man that you are, I would be the same as you. I would sacrifice a personal item from our collection, that experience, for the London game. Like you've said, the 49er Faithful UK community, a lot of people are probably fed up of hearing us bang on about it, but I don't care. The meetups are awesome. The community is amazing. And the fact that we're going to get that with a game, it's happening. Whether it's this year, next, the year after, the Niners have the UK marketing rights. So, to be fair, you answered it far too quickly. So I had to pull out the bonus, would you rather? And the look on your face was worth the bonus one because you were like... Now, Alec has dropped in and we are interactive on this show, Nick. So we do let the good people ask. So Nick, Alex Simpson, would you rather have had in at QB the NFC Championship game, Nick Lance or Josh Johnson?
Right, I think at this point we need to explain what Nick Lance is. Nick Lance came about from last night when I was on the Alex Simpson show on Let's Talk Sports. And he asked me about would I ever want to play quarterback playing flag. And I genuinely don't. I am not a quarterback. I don't have the processing power. You know, when it comes to football, I play predominantly on offense. I say predominantly, exclusively on offense. Ash tells me to play. I see what my route is. I run that route. I'm not going to read a coverage. I mean, I'm not just going to be seeing ghosts out on a field. I'd be seeing Scooby-Doo chasing the ghosts. It would be horrific. Yeah. So that's where the whole Nick Lance thing came from. But I would be awful. Absolutely awful. I mean, honestly, I think it might be the one time George Kittle walked over to someone and went, "Mate, can you sit down? Just take it for the team. Sit down. Fake an injury. Just go sit down over there."
So, to clarify for you good people, Nick plays for the Swansea Hammerheads, who got to the playoff final last year. So they're one of the best flag football teams in the UK.
In Division 1.
Nick had... I'm picking you guys up, buddy. So
in Division 1, there is a whole division above us.
So Ashley Lewis is the quarterback. He plays for the Silver Lions GB team. Now, he is a Patriots fan, but he went to the same college, I believe, Nick, as Brock Purdy.
He spent an entire season watching Brock Purdy for the Cyclones.
So this time last year, me and Nick used to do a show on a channel called Red and Gold 24/7, and Ash came along. So I met Ash through Nick doing podcasting, and Ash was a big fan of Brock Purdy. I then discovered flag football myself and was introduced in person to Ash up in flagging in the new year in Glasgow, and he's as nice a guy off the field as he is on the field. And me and Conor Ryan have no bones about sharing. Watching Ash Purdy, as we nicknamed him, live was awesome. For two rookies like me and Conor getting into flag football, watching Ash. And last night on the show, when Alec was going down that route, I was there in the comments. I had no bones about dropping the Nick Lance. Now, for me, Nick, the reason I dropped the Nick Lance moniker is I've seen you got wheels. And at flag football, you could be deceptively quick. There was footage at the weekend of you toe tapping down the sideline. Was that the one where you nearly take the woman out, or was that a different one?
That was a different one. That I was just trying to get a bit, just trying to get extra yards. I sort of managed to twinkle toe my way into the 5 instead of just going out before the 5, because every millimeter counts. But there was that play where I nearly took out an entire group of women. My route from the slot was 10 and across, basically 10 just straight across the field, 90-degree angle. And I caught the ball right on the sideline. But there was a group of women who were only 3 or 4 yards back off the sideline. And thank God they saw what was happening and they just parted, thankfully, because otherwise I'm not a small guy. I know I'm not the biggest guy, but the last thing I want to be doing is cleaning out an entire pack of women, especially considering it's also my head coach's family. That's the last thing I want to be doing if I want to be playing, if I want to be getting minutes and snaps. I did come very close to completely cleaning them out, though.
Well, we've seen what happened to Brandon Ayuk when he was in Shanahan's doghouse, so you didn't want that. But for those of you watching, bringing it back to, after I throw my phone on the floor, bring it back to Niners-related news. You had a bet with Mr. Lewis, didn't you, last year? Because he was very confident that his Patriots team was going to be more successful than our 49ers. And I have seen the photo. We'll retweet it out after the show, Ash, of you wearing the George Kittle jersey and not the Purdy jersey as you wanted. But I'm going to do a bit of self-promotion. So Dan Harris, who runs Let's Talk Sports, has kindly donated £500 to my flag football team. He's on a big promotion drive at the moment where he's been very generous. As a result, I will be doing a show for Dan on Thursday, a flag football special, where I'll be interviewing the one, the only Ash Purdy himself. Will be joining me at 8 p.m. on Thursday. So would appreciate if everybody could give that a watch. But I also wanted to say, whilst we're on the topic of flag football, Nick, that James Evans, who's discovered flag football through yourself, through me in the group, his team had their first victory in the BAFA League at the weekend. So just wanted to say congratulations to James and his team. They have some awesome merchandise. They've got a new era team issue hat, which I'm not going to lie, I look very jealous about. I'm going to have to get the Steel River lads to get me a piece of that. And I'm just looking at the moment, dare we say it, Nick, there's not that much 49ers news. So we've done well to get 50 minutes out of this episode with these good people. But we've had a couple of weeks off recently. We kind of wanted to keep this in because we did think we were going to be announcing the London show tomorrow. So we did think a big part of tonight was going to be talking about meetups and venues and plans. But the Mallorca news has left us all a bit deflated. And I do want to say before we finish off, there was a lot of nice messages from the content creators across the pond who were just as disappointed as us because there was plans for one hell of a party.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know that much.
Oh, yeah. That's it. Breezy, John Chapman, they were all looking at coming over. It was going to be epic. To be honest, I think the hardest thing was going to be finding somewhere for us all to be together.
Yeah. So we will be back next week at 8 p.m. The Awesome Foursome dropped our review of the draft last week. So if you haven't checked that out, it's not on YouTube yet, but it is on all the major platforms where you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify. So if you could give that a cheeky listen, a comment, a like, a subscribe. If you could also drop the 49er Faithful UK a follow on YouTube. We are trying to get bigger and better. We're going to be bringing you more content. Keep an eye out because Nick, Lee and the chaps who were out in San Francisco last year will be definitely doing a show or two. Given the awesome time you guys had, one show's not going to be enough. I don't have any update on that at the moment because I think Lee's working with yourself and a couple of the others to put it together. I believe Nadji is going to host, and the reason for that is someone hosting who wasn't out there at the time but has been to California, so can kind of direct the show. I think you might be going live, like what we do on a Tuesday, so people can jump in the comments.
Cool, man.
It'd be interactive.
I can't wait. Honestly, I have been on the thing about not saying too much about that trip now for a while, and it's itching to come out. Honestly, it was incredible. This is why I will say I may not be going this year for the gold mine, but if you can, guys, if you can go.
I do want to say for those people who may not be able to stretch to a trip to Levi's, and I'm in that boat. It's going to be a couple of years before I go. Family man, eldest just turned 16. That wasn't cheap. I can tell you that. A couple of family holidays this year. We got other things planned, so it doesn't make you any less involved in the group. No. That said, the way I love about our group, the people who do go out with the gold mine this year will have my full support on the social media. I'll be hyped for you guys going out there. I will want all the footage. I want you to tag me in that because as much as I run the 49er Faithful UK Twitter account, it is for the group. If anybody wants anything tweeting out there, hit me up, as you saw with Luke and Lisa out at the draft, as you saw with Lee and Nadji at the draft last year, and you guys with your chains and your boy band photo.
Right, you can thank Simon Brown for the edit on that.
Yeah, but again, with the flags going out there, and you know yourself, everybody in the UK has a story for how they got into the NFL, and then you discover your fan group. And I was naive to think every fan base had what we have, and they don't. I have mates who are Cowboys fans who say the UK Cowboys group's not great. It's all right when there's a game on over here. My friend who's in the Titans group said it's non-existent. And you look at our community, YouTube channel, Twitter account, meetups, and the meetups get bigger and bigger. I was looking at some of the photos earlier ahead of doing some promotion for this year, and when you think like the first one I went to, I think there was 9 people at Nick. And then you look at that one at the NFC Championship game, which is the screensaver on my laptop. So whenever I fire a laptop up for a show, straight away I'm like, I cannot wait for another meetup. So it's going to be pretty awesome. And what I wanted to say before I let Nick do the ending and I'll load the video up, we are aware that the BAFA leagues are up and running, both flag football and contact. Now, as I said to Nick, I was in Accrington at the weekend, and one of the opposing teams, a guy had a Niners hat on. For the first time ever, I had no Niners gear. And I was like, if you see someone with a Niners hat, flag, jersey, just go over, introduce yourself, promote the group. They may not know about the group. They may think that they're the only 49ers fan in the UK. They're clearly not on social media if that's what they think. But I just wanted to take this opportunity, Nick, to say, go over, have a conversation. That's one of the things that I do love about the NFL in the UK. You can have conversations with anybody, apart from people wearing Raiders gear, because they normally don't know what the sport is. It's just a fashion item. But do you echo what I'm saying if you see another Niner?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I remember when I first found the group and sort of and where it went from there. And that first time meeting you all properly in Bristol, on a fairly epic night out, and then there was obviously that horrible feeling after the end of at the end of the Bears game at the meetup first weekend last year. It was a bit flat at the end, but still, it was, it's great to see friends, and that's what will come from it. It's a good time to be a Niner. It's a good time to be part of the 49er Faithful UK.
So we will be back next week, 8 p.m. UK, 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. The schedule will have dropped. If there's a London game, we will be spending 99.9% of next week's show talking about that. And the schedule is 17-0 and we're going to the Super Bowl.
Pretty much.
There's not a London game, we will next week be looking at, and like we said, we're aware that it's an overreaction, it's early, but what we've decided to do, me and Nick, is we want to see how right or how wrong we are. And also, after I surprised Nick with a double would you rather, you will not, and I repeat, will not want to miss Nick getting me back next week. But
I know.
Look at your face. Believe it or not, we are friends. I promise you, we are friends. He would be disappointed if I'll share it before we go. When you proposed, would you rather? I was a little bit nervous. I think I said this last week. I didn't see where it would go. And this morning, before I signed in for work, I was like, I haven't got a would you rather. And then at dinner time, Tracy was like, "He's ready for the show tonight." And I was like, a few ideas. And then when the evil one came to my mind, she was like, "Why is that evil?" I was like, Nick won't like that one. But then I threw the London one in. And anyway, for those people who have survived the 58 minutes of us rambling and waffling, we do thank you for tuning in. And until next time, go Niners.
We love the San Francisco 49ers deep in our heart. Like Joe Montana in the corner, deep card. Garrison Hurst.